We're going to move on to filters and specifically using them as smart filters. When the image that we're working on is a smart object, anytime we apply a filter, it will automatically become a smart filter, which is important because it offers non-destructive editing. We can change our mind, and we can also, it adds a mask. So if we want to mask out some of those changes, we can. So whenever possible, it's best to apply filters as smart filters, meaning the layer itself has to be a smart object. So we're going to look at some of the crazy and fun and helpful and ridiculous filters that Photoshop offers, and there are many you can get from third-party vendors as well. So the fun thing here is it's just experimenting and having fun. I'm going to start by showing you a few things. We're going to open number 1, Barn, and we're going to get that going. All right, here is a picture of a barn. We are going to look up at our filter menu, and we see filter gallery, adaptive wide angle, camera raw filter. We'll deal with this a lot more in digital photography next semester. We have lens correction, liquify, and vanishing point. And then we have a bunch of other filters down here. We have blur filters, blur galleries, distortion, noise, pixelate, all sorts of things. The first thing that we're going to want to do is convert this into a smart object, which will then make everything smart filters. So we could do it over here in the layers. We could say turn it into a smart object, or right in our filter menu, we can just say convert this. We'll say okay, and there we go. All it did was turn this into a smart object. Now we'll go back up and we'll look at the filter gallery. And this is going to pop up a whole new floating window, this thing right here. So what we have on the right are 6 different folders of some of the filters that are available to everyone in Photoshop without adding them on or buying more, whatever. And they're categorized into these different categories. So if we open Artistic and we click on Colored Pencil, we see a preview. I'm going to try to just make this, can I make this bigger? Guess not. I was thinking I could make this a little bit wider. So this is Colored Pencil. Once you choose one, if you look over to the right, all of the details show up. So how wide is your pencil? And it's showing us a live preview of what that looks like. What kind of pressure do we have on our pencil? And how bright is the paper underneath it? Is it bright white or is it dark paper? So that's that version. The next one is cutout. And notice each time I click, it's taking away the first one and showing us another one. So right now, cutout is right here. So how many levels of cutouts? This almost ends up looking like vector artwork, doesn't it? How is the edge? Simple, complex. And how true is it to those edges? What's the fidelity? So you can look through these one by one and see all the different things that you can achieve. They're really quite cool. So that's Artistic. Brushstrokes, again, every time you click on an option over on the right hand side, it is going to show you what things you can tweak with that. So each filter has its own sub options that you can tweak. Those first 2 are pretty helpful. Distort, sometimes diffuse glow is kind of a neat look, I think. Glass, you may or may not have a need for that. Sketch, all but one turn into like black and white sketches. The one that isn't is the water paper. Stylize, this is just a crazy one. You may never have a use for it, but you should know about it. And then finally is texture. I'm just going to look at this one like with stained glass. You can change how big the cell sizes are. And this is actually a neat way to pull color families out of images. So by doing this, I could see, wow, these are kind of some of the main colors in this image. Maybe I just want to sample a handful of these to get a good color palette from it. But again, we make our cells smaller and smaller. We can change how thick that border is. and how bright the light is coming from behind. So lots of really neat options in this filter menu. All right, another thing that you can do, I'm going to go back to artistic and just pick one of these, is you can actually stack filters rather than just using one at a time. So each time we click, we're just getting one. I do want to point out why when I went to this filter, which is Neon Glow, that's interesting. Sometimes you get a different color going on here because of the foreground and background colors you had active in Photoshop. So some people have a lot of their filters all looking really red, and then when they look back, their foreground and background colors were red and white. This filter must just have that bluish color. Oh, sure, because there's the glow color right there. To apply, so you could change that. But I've also seen lots of times where some of my students get funky colors here, and it's because when they were still in Photoshop, they were not within the default colors. So before you go into filters, make sure you're on black and white here so you don't get any unexpected surprises. So back in here, if we want to stack some of these, if I want to do colored pencil and, I don't know, plastic wrap, you have to hold down Option and click on the second one. So by adding Option click, you add two. So these are the two, and then their stacking order also matters. So if I put the plastic wrap at the bottom and the colored pencil on top, I even get a different look. Poster edges I can add, and I could put that in different stacking orders to get different looks as well. So if you don't want them on here, you can turn off their visibility just to see what they do or don't do, and you can obviously always delete them down here with the garbage can. And from the bottom of this panel, you could click on the plus sign. It's going to automatically duplicate the last one you did, but with that one highlighted, whatever you click on next will be replaced there. I think it's just as easy to Option click on a second or third or fourth effect. All right, so when you're happy with these, you would say okay. We would come back here and we would see, okay, this is a smart object. It has a smart filter applied. And if I want to know what it was, I could double click on Smart Filter, come back here and see, okay, there's 3 different things applied here. That's crazy. I only want to see the watercolor version. Okay. Here's just the watercolor version. So this is editable and it has a mask. If we wanted to paint it out anywhere, we could. We could have all of this be photorealistic except for maybe the barn by masking out everything but the barn. So you have a lot of control here.